this one to you, yeah. Jiri.
Prochazka.
Gonna leave this one to you, yeah. Jiri.
Prochazka.
Spinning elbow, man. The samurai. Yeah, we need to recap that. That was dirty. That was just grueling. Like, in a weird way, yeah. I would have liked to not seen it go longer, but I want to see how long he can push that pace for. Like, something's got to give. You know what I mean?
The only thing I will say to him is that pressure in the first round was relentless, and he came into the second round with the same pressure, and he didn't waver. Do you know what I mean? He got rocked, but that pressure was still relentless. So I would back him to do that for 3 rounds.
That's so demoralising as well. If you're like,
if you're Reyes,
if someone's pressuring you, and then you're like, fuck, and you crack them, and then they're just looking at you, and they carry on. You start to question yourself. You're like, this guy, I can't knock this guy out.
Well, this is what I was thinking at the time, because with Reyes, right, and we've seen how deadly that left can be. He landed them. They landed.
Yeah.
He didn't clip him. They were landing shots, and he was eating them.
Yeah.
And like what we just said, didn't have a bruise, not a mark, like any blood.
Yeah.
And if you're giving your best shots, and this fella's not even got a scratch on him, and he's walking you down with front kicks, elbows.
What have I got to do?
What do you do?
Yeah.
That's why when he was on the floor, and he went for that submission, I was thinking he wants this. Like, he wants to get him out here, because
you better hope.
Yeah, you better hope. And he popped out of it and just landed some deadly ground and pound.
Do you know what I mean? Like, he's like long, rangy, tough as fuck, athletic. Like, he's a problem at 205. I love 205 now that John Jones has gone.
Yeah.
It's so much better.
Yeah.
Because like, before you'd have these people like Johnny Walker, you'd be like, yeah, he's good, but John Jones will beat him.
And it's static, isn't it? It's like, always that question.
It's like John Jones and everyone else, but now it's open. Like,
the thing is though, like, this is a whole different conversation, but like in a few years' time, well, in a couple of years' time, because you got to think John Jones is still only 32.
Yeah, he's in his prime.
So that Jiri fight with John Jones, mate, he's a problem for anyone in that 205 division.
Yeah, he ain't an easy fight.
No, he's not an easy fight. The one thing that I was watching him on the Ariel Helwani show, and the one thing they said, he didn't like it, so he didn't like it either. He didn't like his performance.
Yeah, he said he weren't happy that he got cracked a few times.
Weren't happy. And the thing is, he's 2 fights into his UFC. He's very experienced.
That's fast.
Yeah. He had Uzdemir, which was lovely knockout. And then obviously he had this fight, which are two, like, you're getting thrown into the UFC at 205.
They're both fought for the belt. Like, they both.
Well,
lost,
that is it.
Like,
they are title, and you look at Reyes as well, and like, I do feel for Reyes, and we'll come on to this in a minute. But you look at Reyes as well, like, yeah, literally in title contention, fighting for the title against John Jones, who
he should have been.
I personally think he should have won, and it's a whole different dynamic. But now you have him who's entered the fray, and he's coming off. I want to say 15 fights. He hasn't lost since 2016.
Yeah.
He's been dominating, and then he's coming. He said he could have been in the UFC before, which I quite honestly believe.
I'll take your word for it.
And yeah, he's taken 2 title contenders. Like, the only thing that's easy for me to say is very, very low hands, and chin was quite high, which he admitted to as well, which is not something moving forward that you necessarily want to, especially because he's so young, right? He's 28.
Against Blachowicz as well, you want to.
You're not going to want to do that for 10 plus years. Do you know what I mean?
He'll maybe play the low hands game. People play that, but
that chin, you don't want to keep that.
If Jan counters you, it can be over. Do you know what I mean? He's going to follow up as well. He's not going to land one.
His defence was quite nice though.
Yeah, nice.
His defence was quite nice as well, and he's got that offbeat rhythm where. He's hard to hit. Yeah. Like, he doesn't take conventional steps, do you know what I mean, to movements.
It reminds me, like, his movement, he's hook shots. It reminds me a bit of, like, Dominic Cruz, but just at 205, and, like, the consequences are more dire. Like, if Cruz cracks you, it's not going to tickle, but, like, he cracks you, he's putting you out.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
you're going to
It's a different thing at 205 than at 135. So it's like, it's an interesting one in the mix, no doubt. There's, good fights at 205.
Very good fights.
This is not me matchmaker. I know Jimmy Crute lost, but like, he looked good in the bit that he was fighting Smith. He's exciting.
It was a good fight up until.
He's a young, tough, hard-nosed Aussie. Smith versus Jiri. Glover. He could beat Glover. He could beat Young.
This is the problem. This is the huge problem in the 205 division.
Big problem.
This is a huge problem in the 205 division because you've got Jiri, who He's fighting for the title. He should fight for the title next. I don't think there's any questions.
Yeah.
Uzdemir and Reyes, who was sitting at 3. Yeah, sitting at 3 at the time, and he does that comprehensive as you can probably be.
Yeah.
He's fighting for the title next. But the problem is that Yan fight and the Glover fight is September. They want it in September. Yeah. So they want it in September, which would mean like even the earliest really. You're looking at a January title shot. And he's 28. He loves a scrap, do you know what I mean?
Like, I want to see him fight again.
And I think he wants to fight again. So his problem now is he's in this tweener phase of, do I stay active?
Yeah.
Or do I take that time?
We see this a lot though, right? Guys are like, I'm going to wait for my title shot, and typically that doesn't work out. There are exceptions, but I think he wants to be active, he wants to get the experience.
And you want to see that as well?
He's exciting. He's only going to get better. His English will get better, but
Yeah.
I quite like the fact that it's so broken, because it's so, like, I don't know, it's just like...
It's still pretty good, to be fair. Like, he is still pretty good. And the one thing I will say to him is, I really, like, in terms of a fighter, but I'm not a fan of the hair, but it brings it.
Yeah, I mean,
it really brings it. We were having a conversation when I was watching it the other day, of having someone as intense opposite you with that, because I don't know... we just watch the highlights, but when you watch it live speed, right, you know when they pan onto the person who's in the ring, when they're doing their walk-in, the cameraman has never spent so long on someone. Like, honestly, like Conor McGregor sort of time. He was so intense. And there was just such an atmosphere he was bringing with no fans.
Yeah, imagine you just stood there and this geezer with a samurai haircut to kill you.
But this is the thing as well. Like, I love him because he's very humble. He's very respectful. He loves martial arts as an art form, and that's exactly what he said. And he sort of brings that full package, and he's what 205 needed. He's what 205 needed, because like what you said, you had John Jones, who was John Jones, but and he brought controversy, but not always in the right ways. Not in the ways.
Were a bit naff.
But that's the thing, and you look at his last couple of fights, and we're arguing whether he lost it or not, and even I personally would say he did, but they need that, like, just rejuvenated sort of 205.
Give it to me.
100%.
I'd love to, and this the last one, my theoretical matchmaking. And I don't think they'll do this because the rankings don't really line up, but like Johnny Walker versus Jiri would be just fucking fireworks. Like, at some point I need to see that fight. Just two ginormous, wild, explosive men. No homo.
It's just... Yeah, it's crazy, man. Like, it's crazy because like, who does he fight if he stays active?
Yeah.
Who does he fight? Because there also isn't many
Rakic
people. Well, this is the thing. Like,
last fight was shit.
And I think he said, no, it's good. You reminded me of that because he actually said, my next fight, if I fight anyone, I want it to be Rakic, who's also he's Eastern European. I can't remember if is he Croatian.
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, but he's from somewhere like that, and
he's that part of the world.
He's that part of the world, and he said he quite wanted that fight, but I think he walks through everyone. That isn't Jan Blachowicz at the moment.
Yeah, I think
he poses. Yeah, I think he smokes Glover. Do you think he's too quick? He's too unorthodox.
But Glover's got that experience, but
that is
it's
true.
hard when you've got a young samurai that just wants to fucking wipe you out.
And I don't even mean to disrespect Glover because you can't overlook what he's done, and he deserves that title shot more than anyone.
Smith would do the business for him, and he was literally talking to him.
And that's the thing, and Glover's been and done it, and you do see people coming into not their prime as such, but some of their best performances and that sort of age. Even if you look at DC, do you know what I mean?
At the heavier weights as well.
100%.
There,
because it doesn't rely on that quote unquote speed, that sort of endurance as much so. It's very different to the lighter weights, the the middle weights and things like that, because it's a different game almost.
Power's the last thing to go as well.
Exactly, and you get that old man strength.
That's a feel.
Like, that's a legit thing. But it leaves the question of Reyes. He's on a 3-fight losing streak now. He went
Jones, Glover,
Jones, and now Jiri. So
mad.
It's a difficult one because
he beat Jones.
He beats Jones, which is a different world, opens up a different world of MMA completely. Now he's the champion, which dethroned John Jones.
Yeah, Jiri could be champ right now if that all...
Legit, so it's like a massive sort of different dynamic. Then he loses to Jan, which is well, I mean,
Look at
currently.
Jiri versus Ngannou right now with all the stars.
Honestly, like it's.
Daddy joke.
When he was fighting, I was thinking, I wonder if he'll ever go up to heavyweight because he's young.
You always have to be heavy 205
with 205s because he's young as well. Like he's 28, which is put 10 years on him, and we're talking about Jan, who's just defended the title twice, and he's in some of his best performances.
How much better you can get in 10 years? You can
and when you're someone like him who lives and breathes
studies the game,
martial arts, is crazy. So I think
Hot
Reyes has to take a year off. I don't know whether he doesn't have to, but I think it'd be good for him to take a little bit of time off. It's been a tough run for him, a very tough run for him. He's been, on paper, it looks not great, but he's just come up against an absolute specimen.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, which was the only third spinning elbow, I think, knockout in the UFC. Don't quote me on it, but not a lot of them, regardless.
No,
and then obviously, like we sort of said, he come up against Jan, which is. Jan's Jan, man. He's got that power, and he can do it to anyone, which he did. And then we're talking about John Jones, so he's an awkward place for him. So I think he takes a year off and
comes back strong
because he's got everything there.
Yeah, he's an athlete.
He's got everything there. Well, he's quite literally is an athlete because he's American football, wasn't he? And he transitioned in, and he's sort of.
He's got nice footwork. He's got bombs.
He's got that straight left. Like the highlights don't show it as much. So if anyone's watching it, highlights. Didn't paint the full picture, but he landed, and this is what I was saying to you. I cannot believe. I watched Jiri on Helwani show. I watched his post. Nothing, not a scratch.
Yeah.
The shots he ate.
Iron Samurai.
It was crazy. It was obscene.
205 looking
tasty, real tasty.
Yeah. All to unfold. We know one thing and one thing only. How's it going to unfold? Well,
we're gonna find out. As always, you know the drill. If you enjoyed the content, drop us a like, drop us a subscribe. The little Instagram handle is here as well as our TikTok, so drop us a follow on that for your daily MMA fix. Peace.